Well, with this hostile takeover of the Americas by CITYS over citizens, it makes sense. Let me explain. So, COVID, coronavirus, so the ring of fire, a looping disease, whirling disease, causing atmospheric pressure of an environment. Even in R22, R34, it's bottlenecking, mob mentality, patternistic behavior. It's the same thing as JFK or Bruce Lee or anything like that. What it is R22 and R34 are for HVAC, okay? It's to release a pressurized gas through any orifice into an environment to cause an atmosphere. Also works for blanketing, all right? So like the flag. So if I have America that is top, or I have China that's top, that's why they're dealing with China, and America that's top. That's because they've used 12 by 12. Okay, so they've taken 24 hours or 32 hours and they've twisted it, okay? They've twisted it around. So you've got two tops now with two bends in it, three bends in it. All right. And what that is makes China and America both top. Okay, so that gives you a looping disease. It gives you that chain of effect. Also, if your navigation, that gives you a subdivided self, right and left. So, also on a clock, if you look at 34 of 22, 22 will be the opposition of 34 of 330. All right. But when you unfold that clock and you look, okay, 22 and 34 are exactly the same. It's a whole percent. When you unwind it, 7.5 and 34. So 34 is 25 of 75. It's false gravity of two, known as the Trinity College. It also increases and decreases. So they're causing forced abandonment. Jimmy Carter wrote that any person in an imminent danger or a state of survival has access to abandoned property, or not abandoned property, abandoned assets like fixed foundations. That means if somebody beings that the land is for the people, by the people, and it belongs to the people, that no organized business, and this is from the beginning to end, and they cannot claim land and have no grounds to stand on, especially being they didn't stand on the ground on which we were founded upon. So the use of the Statue of Liberty against the Statute of Liberty means that the Statute of Liberty is where your heritage, your strength will protect you. Those of us that have fought for your independence and your freedom can protect you. What they're doing is they're causing mass genocide. They put a lot of pressure. So they want to advertise these heinous activities to be true through media to cause atmospheric pressure. Okay, and then they use police departments that are public, now considered, okay, so a city police force is not a part of the state and is not allowed to special code and ordinance. All right? It cannot be over state, and it can't be over your state, and it's not allowed to have union or marriage. And they've allowed this to happen. A ceremony is not the union of God, a child is. Child support is to have, to hold, to honor, to cherish. Until death of that relationship do you part. That means until that child is old enough to stand up and stand at equality with you. All right. I can tell you the true story about the birds and the bees, but I'll do that later. So where the union of God is 100% man and 100% woman, and one not be held liable to the other. in the United States of America and all outlying lands, that none can be held responsible to the other. Their responsibility is to that child. There is no shining false representation or false lights through a flag. This is the intellect. Okay? That is the flag. That is the innocence of a child. This would be a stepfather of a wrong matching thing. That would be a foreign code and policy, misguiding the ship into hostile territory, misguiding the people because you're not meant to go underneath the kind of pressure that I've been under. I'm here to protect you against those kind of people because I've outgone pressure beyond the extension, because pressure is the truth against time. It exceeds and far exceeds time. Okay? This pressure, atmospheric pressure that they put on top of you, breaks the back of your innocence and your independence. You feel unprotected. So where they deploy these things of mass media, it's psychological warfare. And this kind of communication that they're using was used in the World War II. Okay? And that is to break into the mind through atmospheric pressure, like I said, breaking the cerebellum into the third eye. The cerebellum's in the back of the brain, right by the central nervous system, which is your, central intelligence of your internal revenue. So they based all this on there. So the Oval Office, top of my head, one side Supreme Court, one side. Okay, so they're breaking into the mind. So it's a prison mining camp. So you feel that being employed or doing as you told is what you're supposed to do. This is incorrect. You're an independent individual with your own moral code and compass. And they're trying to get you to follow and conform your independence to a codependency of their allegiance. And they're trampling all over the fucking flag. And how are they doing that? Well, because the grounds that we stand on is for every man, woman, and child. All right? That is the representation of the laws of the land. That is the foundation of the seeding process. Is three: the sun, the moon, and earth. And the unseen representation of who you are. So, child support is to have, to hold, and have that relationship, to be that shoulder to cry on, to be there with your child. Now, winging children from their families to keep the father in hell and say it's heaven, and to have their war in heaven by fragmentation and putting people in a state of fear to create a next level, 13th floor they want to call it, right? So this is to say fragmentation of the soul, or your soul representation, is to take your allegiance to yourself and get you to believe in crisis or Christ, in need of the body of crisis of somebody else. All right. So this body of crisis, I'll explain to you what that is a little later, but is to say that you don't believe in yourself, that you're a sinner. This is untrue. Because what happens is you come from a heritage, a thick, rich heritage from the soil. And so they start these religions. They want to subdivide you from that and divorce you and marry you into a celestial kingdom of a terrestrial. There's your thing. That's how they bind the gods to the stars, is to get you to believe in a body, force intimacy, and have intercourse, being dragged by your heritage and statutory rape, and create these laws or codes and ordinance within inside of cities of a public-private office. Now, these police departments are privately owned. All right? They have an exemption from taxation because they're supposed to care for what's going on. All right? They're supposed to care for the people. Okay, so they care for the people by working for the people of Independence. They don't work for their job, and the Department or the Civil Rights or the Declaration of Independence and all that is written for your person. If ever to work for the government, or for not the federal administration, because you're an independent person that is self-governing of your own right-of-way, freedom of expression, and right to live your way as you ever so see it fit. So they want to confuse and bring from light. It's called a violation of color of law. They've worked up into the light of things. And this is not where the flesh is at. This is where they're trying to get you, is into the imaginary state. Force of intimacy, so you see things different way, so you really can't see what's going on. You're living in a happy life, but don't see what's going on around you. It changes the color of things. So if we were to actually commit marriage, me and you, and we'd disappear, you would live through me and I'd live through you. You would basically walk into my world and I'd walk into your world, and that would be union. And it does happen, okay? So people that are together for a long time that bounce do have union, okay? And it's a beautiful thing. It is. It really is, if two people bond like that and become one flesh. Okay, that is a different story than forced union through fear. All right, I need you to understand this. This is real shit, okay? This is serious as all can be. Forced intimacy of intercourse, of statutory rape. That means by statute, of your own statute. So liberty, your own liberty means you're at your own liberty. That means you can do as you so see it fit. Now what they're doing is taking the right thing to do as the left hand, instead of the centered, being self-centered, having your buckets on either side and making your free decision. They're trying to make it Christ and Satan. It's your opposition. One hand's opposite to your right, and you're self-centered. So being self-centered is a good thing. All right, there's a lot of things that you're taught that are wrong, that are correct. To be there's a lot of them, okay? There's a lot that's been misconstrued, excuse me. So, my stepfather, he's a Bountiful City hostage negotiator, okay? If you look at any map, and you look at it, 10/29/1980. So, explain this. The year 2020, or 20 days and 20 nights, is the days of Moses. It's where he comes down and he says to the people, he says, you've got false gods, believe no other God. You're building shrines. They put a shrine on top of the freaking LDS temple, right? It's just pathetic. So that's 40. 40 years from 2020 is 1980. 1/9 over 80 is 99, and you start a clock on 00, right? The Mayans have called for it. Everybody's called for it. They knew exactly when the hell that was going to be, because that's the center point of mass. It's like a drip in a bucket. The waves come out, and those are your seasons. Then it reflects and comes back. So that means your heritage is more in light. They're not of the same density. So what I'm doing is I've taken a lot of fucking pain to free, because they're putting out there that everybody was enslaved. Bullshit, they weren't. Their history they're teaching you, your beliefs will enslave your own people. And they're forcing information of your intellectual properties. Your intellectual properties is not freedom of information. Freedom of information means you're free from being forced information in uniform. This is a military action against your independence. I'm a civic civilian doing my civic duty to defend my persons, to defend myself at all costs. You defend your life, land, and liberty at all means. Now a city comes in that's supposed to be caring, because if you care for something, You have union, okay? By caring, you're sharing. It belongs to you. You belong to it, but through care. That don't mean you own it. Don't mean you can hold on to it. It's like the Da Vinci Code. It's one arm around the next. When she decides to go, she gets to go. You let go. But you see, these relationships, that's how your children are born. How they're created is through these relationships in your life. Your soul is putting together and knows your life. And is being built strong enough to stand for you. Your children are born strong enough to stand for you. So when a man and a woman come together, because of postpartum, it is so dangerous. Because the spirit cannot be fragmented from her. And that's where they fucked up with Adam and Eve on their story. So where your soul, it's like a spirit above you, that second floor where they're building. This innocence, this beauty in the dream state, the Milky Way. You're building your children. You're building your future. It cares for you. It loves you. But these people are getting up into the light of creation by force of intimacy and marriage through fear. Now, when something eats you or beats your ass, it wears like a tattoo. So everything you do is like on your soul, an imprint. Okay? It's an imprint, and the soul representation is the light of what you're building. It all accumulates. Now, the dream state of these children that are dreaming are doing really heavy work because of all this pain. And they are all the little princesses, every single one of those beautiful little faces. They are true fighters. They've been fighting for a long time. And you cannot be in my fucking dream state. I won't have it. I remember watching the earth built from reflection from the star up there, watching the ground be done. I know what that shit is. And they're not allowed to sit there and build in my dream state. There's different levels of independent dream states. And they like mine because I've got a very vivid imagination of creation. And I can bring things from out to sea in. But they like to catch my expansion because I'm a center point of mass of the North and South Pole. All right? I'm a very, very attractive person. So they like to echo into the delta state of brain to create and catch. And that's what they're doing up there. They're creating. So they've held me hostage by creating my delta state. So when they attack the planes, see, that's what they did to the people. They attacked the planes by interfering in the delta state of a platform of a new creation. So the innocence fell deep within inside. Every single one of you, when you fell in fear, when you have a child that is put in fear, pieces of it leave, like a little shadow leave, little pieces. Oh, it goes, it can't be there. It will not stay and stay. So them shining LED lights and doing all that stuff to dilate the eye is and purple and black, which is a 3D dimension. It tricks the brain. It gives somebody else a seizure. It takes somebody else's assets. And it comes back. They're not caring for you. They're sitting upon you. And that's why after COVID, the businesses had no change. Because they took your sense. You understand that? It's all connected. But they're not allowed to reverse engineer that into your own flesh. The CIA is on U.S. soil on the ground. The TSA is in the airports under policing and allowing city police departments into the fucking national airport. I got abandoned city, Oregon. See that abandonment? All right. When you force abandonment by getting before, impeding, following too close, these are all things that are written in light. So the Constitution, all these things were written in light of things, okay? That means that I'm creating them now from back then because of my pressure. They would call it a fault line, right? But if you knew that, let's say, the shadow, the coat of many colors was black, the opposition of it's as light as the sun. It's like a black sack with gold in it, shining so bright over there. Flip your camera from the polarity. Okay, take your camera and flip the opposition to the negative, and see how the center goes black. So, this will explain to you what the two different sides are. The Holy Spirit is as bright as that freaking sun right there. And what's within, what shines without. And that is the opposition of Corona, because the outside of the aura of the moon. So they're operating in the negative and collecting for a positive, because it is a positive. They're subdividing it. They're switching sides. They have to care for you. They'll never win me. I'm an opposition. I'm the original opposition, the original light. And every part of me is perfect. And all they can do is put you under pressure and make you feel helpless and useless, and make your innocence hide within. But you see, you're sitting up here above yourself in denial and protection. And then all the innocence will come to me. So you hear me. So they scare you out of yourself. Anyway, I'll tell you more on that, but it is not a round earth. You've got your own earth. Those are my stars, my daughters. Department of Transportation, DOT. Look in Bend, Oregon. It'll be 10/29/1980. That is the address of the Department of Transportation. Right there in Bend, it'd be the end. Right next to Melvin, the guy that bit me on the ass when I was a kid, next to Bethlehem, where they're causing homelessness. You see, they're forcing the independents out on the street because it's a threat to what they're doing. And then hunting people through the Veterans Affair, Volunteers of America, right? Just like they did in World War II. But if you knew that it was all caused from one center, and what they did then, a man beating me in my own house, coming into my house, moved me into behavior class because of my dyslexia. And his name was Christopher Alvin Lund. He was an LDS missionary. Went to Columbia. So Christopher Columbus District. Yeah, District of Columbia. And Bountiful City hostage negotiator, holding hostages himself. Now he's a truck driver. So, you know, he's an incorporation. It's really not about him and his original family he was taking over. But what they did is move me into independent living after being beat, having 5 cities create the 911 emergency program. And it was ruled due to gross child abuse and neglect of 5 different cities, Bountiful, Centerville, and West Bountiful, and all that, and into West Valley. That no city or city policy 911 communication have communication with me, and they moved me into the state of Missouri. All right. Very much like the Constitution of the United States of America, and very much the story of the LDS in reverse. Why wouldn't Missouri name itself Missouri? No, they moved from misery into who I am. Eating of the body of a human. You don't eat human flesh, and you don't create ruling, looping, creating society above all this bitching and yelling because they're getting kicked out. When you care for the land, it cares for you. Don't divorce your soil. Don't divorce your sorrow. Don't divorce your fucking problems. You keep them for yourself and you grow in it. Just like a plant on the ground. And you hug yourself and you love yourself. Because the light within you, the true city, would be my original light. But you're not supposed to know what that light is, because that's given in that creation of life. Look at those beautiful faces up there. That's given back then to your heritage. And they build, and we support each other, the earth and them. Your property is not a physical means. It is your properness by custom of your heritage. And that's when they want to pull up and say they're taking your property, they're trying to piss you off to get money out of you and to view you as an item to make money off of. A lot of you won't know this. Your brain will just turn it off, but not realize you're standing on your own head. You gotta look below you and see where you're held, because you just see good. I've got most of these cops off the street. They were pulling over. They had like 500 of them out here just pulling people over, feeding off them like cattle. Now, in the United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave, we're everywhere. Okay? You could say Africa's our opposition, but it's the same. I mean, I'm well-centered. All right? At depth, expansion. I mean, I can be the black man, he can be the black man, I don't care. I'm a bird, I'm part of all energy. I've cared for a lot of things. It's black. They're blacklisting, blackballing, putting you in lack of life, land, and liberty. For Bureau of Land Management. They have flipped and started using fear for marriage. To make you force. I heard the elected president, he's not who I am. And he never will be who I am. They always stand on my head. They're, using, it's what it is. Especially with 5G. 5G is a lot. I mean, even the roller coasters can't use 5 gravities. You know what I mean? They're allowed to use 3 gravities, and they're putting 5 gravities, a blanket of fear, and trampling on the United States and the flag, defacing the representation and not standing the ground in which we stand. Stand your ground law means to stand on your your morals, your compass, your value before the soil. You've already lost against me. As one man, doing a civic duty, because guess why? I'll always win. Because I have your best interest. I have the best interest of all at heart. I've got 2 little girls, looks like on either side of me, and I'm sitting right on the tip of my nose. My kids have had to see everything that I went through. That's the Statue of Liberty. I'm a bell, I'm a howl, part of nature, bell and howl. You tried to crack my bell. You can't crack my bell. You won't crack my cranium, or the war of Ukraine against the Mennonites by city in Bend and Burns, Oregon. All right? Why is that? I fell on a burning ring of fire, paralysis to the left side of the face, teeth pain. Is because they create, now they've got behavioral jails. If you try to defend your independence, they're locking people up and putting them in jail. Using tactics, blaming Korea for what they're doing here. Korea ain't doing shit. Mexico's not doing it. They're part of America. You're subdividing. Canada. All these beautiful people. My neighbors. My armies. But expansion, what they did with my life, an expansion from another angle that belongs to them and are equivalent to who I am, no matter what color you are or who you are. I love you. And I care for you as if you were my own. Because when they go to war with me, they beat me. Every one of them beat me every city I go into. But I won't fall. Because they're up above looking down and they see they're in pain. Because they've installed these foreign codes and customs as police officers. And they follow an order. They follow control. They're not in physical control. They are DUI because they're not under control of their own self, their own moral code and compass, their military action of a Holocaust and creating wars and blaming people like Hitler. Hitler's not Hitler, it's what they're doing from here, all right? They took my kids, the moment they took my kids, they cracked the foundation of their fucking church, their temple. And once your foundation is cracked of your main place, you're out of business, bud. They tried to say because of the earthquake in Wells that it's at that, you know, oh, look, it's sitting. No, that was the soil, man. It started separating, showing what's going on. It didn't crack. You can't crack the foundation of this earth. It's just parting its way a little bit. So as you're in my intellect and reading of my thoughts and every credit card number and everything I do, let me tell you what, parting the Red Sea and the coat of many colors is the blackest skin. You know, depriving people by teaching a man to fish by denial. You always give a man, because that's the thing here in the United States of America. We help each other, and we always stand for a fallen man. Now, to look down on people on the street, they're the people standing for you. You always stand for him, not your government. Don't vote to be voted on. You just vote for somebody to stand over my head and stand on my head, like the George Floyd case. Yeah, Bennett, Floyd Bennett, right? What was that Floyd Bennett thing? I think if you go to Bandon, Oregon, you'll see Bennett Restaurant there. And if you read the headstone out there, it says the Bennetts, you know, Lord Bennett, up until the Hugh. My name is Joshua Matthew Howell, okay? That is my name, or Hugo. They call me many other things. But, you see, right next to Egyptian Theater is the FBI Bennett. They never been nothing. Benedict Arnold's, you know, whatever. And things on the Tom Girl and Tom Boy. It's not Uncle Tom. He is the sheriff, part of the LDS Church. So, you see, they use these things and slander people from here and then, like Ted Bundy. Okay, that's in line with the Josh Powell case. Look it up. It's the opposition, and they're using the Ted Bundy case to control the people. What they're doing is they're using fear to get your allegiance and distrust of one another, the trust of we the people, the trade amongst us, and trying to be a security and take over and break into the ether and other things. That's why they use fear. That's because they need your allegiance, your dependence, your codependency, and you will follow orders and command. They're nothing. They are absolutely nothing. Because their light belongs to me. Because they are selling their soul. They're an incorporated business that is a circle that is working for the company and will cut angles and has no clue what they're doing. Because no corporation can own land or a business. They don't have your best interest. It is not a living life. That's why independence is the only way. Because it will always, a board of executors or trustees will always cut corners. Just like in Saratoga Springs, they built all them apartments with no sprinkler systems, 4 stories high, with the stove at the front of the building, and sold them off. They say they're up to code. And building code, it's your moral code and compass from a physical land in your houses, and they're moving in and saying that people are public property and then selling the property as land. That's human trafficking. They're actually getting in and moving your personality to one to the next and selling and altering your genetics, agriculture, and no other country wants to buy your food. There's an alternation of genetics by changing your heritage in which you stand. They're pulling America out right from below you and putting you at the bottom of the list and making you that. FBI's in every fucking country now. They're passing their rights as an American, as independents, working these jobs of an incorporation and passing the rights to the left behind or to their incorporated business. What does it mean to pass your humanity, your decency, your integrity, your moral code and compass to your position as an officer, to incorporation of organization against independence. To incorporate it means to kill it. They're incorporating your independence and your freedom and creating a black hole. Now, I had to go through, this is not who I am. It's not my representation. And I can't believe they did with that in my life and come back and steal my fucking kids, my wife. And try to do the same to them. Take my kids, I called the TSA and told them, they said there's nothing they could do. Took my kids out to sea, into international water like piracy to create union with them. On a cruise ship into Mexico. Took them out to Hawaii through international air. Nothing they could do because the police department's in there. So any police officer that's got a vendetta can do whatever the fuck he wants. Every freaking courtroom, every state building, everyone has security guards right there at the front. Breaking into the, I went up there through all the casinos right there at the front of the frontal edge expansion, the frontal edge of erosion of expansion at sea. Where California, Oregon, Washington, they're up there. The Gulf War, abandoned dunes. A band is good. Playing music's good. But forced abandonment, denying of rights of abandonment, and then acquiring all your properties, your land and your assets through forced abandonment, through city, to create a big ass fucking empire to overthrow all life. Because it doesn't work for the land. It's divorcing properties and divorcing children. There is no subdivision or divorcement of the union of God of creation, and that is child. They're using ORS, Oregon State, and Oregon's Lottery of the Tri-City areas as office recovery services through Weber Pier or Conquil, as in Weber County by the dinosaur park, for office recovery services. And it stated that I was employed with my children. So I'm paying them all these bills. So is other people. And eating upon everything I do. When I have something, my shoes don't last. I've gone under so much weight carrying so much pair of shoes don't last me 2 days. I can't keep a sleeping bag for 3 or 4 days before they come get me. Holding person in the state of imminent danger for over 3 fucking decades. Once then, they've denied all court orders. They don't let me into a courtroom and they take what they want. I know what this shit is because I've been defending since I was fucking born and before. Okay, I look like a meteor coming in. It goes like this. Bang. And then it's like it waves out. And each one's each color, you got the heritages. It's pretty easy, you know what I mean, to figure it out. I mean, they shouldn't put math in there because 1 + 1 is 3. 1 + 2 of an incorporated one number as 2. They're individual ones. You can have 50 cups. There's still 50 individual cups. Now, expansion is different. Expansion of a light. Freedom of expression, freedom of motion, freedom of speech. Now, those things are much different. Now, they want to get into the transportation, into the busing industry, which I was. I grew up Rose Park, into the busing industry, a lot like Rosa Parks. Freedom, transportation. Worked on heavy equipment. But you see, then they want to get into Transit Authority in Utah, the UTA. Then they got to put a train in. The reason why they want to put that federal train in is to get into the federal regulation. It's a public access meant for pub, not meant to discriminate, regulate, persecute, profile, discriminate, and has right of flow. That means you got the right to passage anywhere you go. Federally protected. Now, to administer, and where it says, and God said, let there be light. Well, and God said, and it's good orderly direction said, let there be light of intellectual properties of my information, basically. And where they're taking that information and they're twisting it backwards and going against you in reverse engineering, called looping disease. They want to say lunacy, but if you bounce the signal off the moon and come back, it comes in reverse, okay? So I am backwards. I am the opposition. They can never win because I was the first light, so I'll always be out there. But I'm here. I keep myself at the lowest point. I won't leave a man behind because I stand at equality, and I'll raise with all life. And you'll never take me. You'll never take me because I'll make sure there's not one left behind. Except for your fucking ignorance. And you'll fall over. Even if you're shot in the head and you'll stand on your own back. Your best will stand on his back. At least you'll have a grand to stand on. I don't believe in murder. Death will never come. I want you guys to know that. They make it look like that by subdivision. So it veils the mind. But you're aware, you're elect. Where are you going to go? You just become subdivided, winged, and feel lost and alone and think that you're with your family and you're not. Merger into the back end of nature, never stick your hand in nature. Force them into the animal, or taking somebody's animal they cared for. It's just as dangerous because they have created union with that animal. They can take that animal. That's why them killing those animals actually is probably a good thing. But to manipulate one's child, to use them in an action of war, use of men and women in war, very bad thing. So they ripped down the steel plant, Geneva Convention in Lyndon. Lyndon B. Johnson? No. Linear square footage of a pole, they hold you by time. There is no time, there's only pressure, and it's supposed to ease the life. So we work for the independent people and families to bring products and services to ease their lives. So it creates less pressure on the environment. If you're in customer service and you're causing and you think you're an authority, being paid to be an authority is a problem. That's what coronavirus is as well. Being pressure, it's like a stampede or a mudslide. Creating fires for these people to go work. Creating mental anguish. So you see them flipping out for their businesses or their incorporation and feeding upon society.